Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's been an interesting Shabbat so far. We've had to actually do some work today, which is unfortunate.
Some servile work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's really servile work if you're caring for your animals and your
things that had to be done, and we, unfortunately, sometimes you do have to do some things. So
you want to share what happened?
We got donkeys 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 2 donkeys rescued from our neighbor, and they were free, which was amazing because we'd been praying for donkeys. And
we met these donkeys. Our neighbors had also been praying with us for donkeys, and they have friends in Alabama who own a farm who had 2 rescue donkeys that they needed to find a new home for.
Mm-hmm.
And so they came to our neighbors on 5 months ago to the day.
They would have been delivered straight to our house, but we ended up, it's funny because we ended up telling our neighbors we would rather not work on the Sabbath if you could deliver them, if we could maybe do them on a different day.
Yeah, but the only day they
could get them was on Sabbath, and so they ended up getting them on Sabbath, and they're so nice that they didn't really, they didn't mind. Some people get mad when you tell them anything about Sabbath, but
they understand.
They understand, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They understand, and so they took the donkeys into their home on October the 10th of 2021, and just a number of different factors and circumstances prevented us from getting them. And honestly, I think it was just Yah's timing. And anyways, it's just kind of a long sordid tale.
We got them 2 days ago. Finally got them over
5 months to the day.
5 months to the day.
Yeah, that we first met them. And we're also in the middle of lambing season. So we're experiencing our first lamb birth of our lambs, however you want to say it. And our neighbors and Jim worked to bring them to our farm 2 days ago. It was beautiful. We thought we were heading into spring, had all the feelings and
wanted to plant our garden.
Spring, and we've been prepping the garden, and we knew we were going to have some cold temperatures, but then we got notified a couple days ago that we were going to be in for another winter storm, 1 to 3 inches, and so that's what we got last night. And it was actually more like a blizzard, and we'd call this a blizzard, wouldn't you?
For us,
yeah. And we got more than, how many inches did we get?
For us in Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah.
About 3 to 4, probably.
Yeah. But it was blizzard-like temperatures. I mean, the wind, and the wind's probably about 30 miles per hour last night as the snow was falling. And then we lost power around 2 a.m. And oh, by the way, my husband is a firefighter and works 24-hour rotating shifts and just happened to be working.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking like you're not here, but...
Yeah, I'm here.
Anyway, so there was needs that needed to be tended to early this morning to make sure that our sheep are secure and safe and protected. And then...
Yeah, the sheep are covered in snow and the donkeys have icicles hanging off of them.
Yeah.
So they needed their food and some help, so...
Yeah, so we've been working through that this morning and getting them settled in, and now we are finally...
But as Yahusha says, the Sabbath was made for man.
Not man for the Sabbath.
And it's a gift. It's an amazing gift to be able to rest and keep a day holy and set apart for Yah.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. It's the one gift that woke me up and woke us up to Torah. It's amazing. And if you see it as that, as a gift that you get to do Sabbath, rather than a chore or rather than something to lord over anybody or lord over your people with,
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. So
it's just, it's beautiful. And if Yah's commanded us to do it, and he's also said, be holy as I am holy, right? And just to walk in his footsteps. This is something that he did.
Mm-hmm.
He gave it to us, but he did it himself. He created this whole world, and then what did he do? He created the earth and everything in it, and then he did what? He rested.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a beautiful thing to know that we're doing something that Creator not only gave us, but also took part in himself, which I think leads us into chapter 2 of Bereshith.
Yeah, so we're reading from Targum, Bereshith, that's Genesis, or Bereshith. I don't know how you pronounce it. I think it is Bereshith.
Mine is Bereshith, and I think it depends on your version.
And you're reading from the Scriptures, right? Scriptures version.
Yep.
So I'm reading from Targum, Genesis, from Zen Garcia, and it's got the Palestinian and Aramaic Targum.
And so we started this a couple weeks ago of reading line by line. You're going to read it, and I'll read silently out of my version, and then have some conversation about, some differences that are within them, and just the beauty that is.
Mm-hmm. We'll try to read a little faster.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess we should go. We're like 6 minutes in.
Yeah. And the creatures of the heavens and earth. This is chapter 2. And the creatures of the heavens and earth, and all the hosts of them, were completed. And Yahuwah had finished by the seventh day the work which he had wrought, and the 10 formations which he had created between the suns.
The 10 formations? Well, I'm sorry, I'm stopping.
No, you're fine.
Did that sound like it was
like it was planned. The 10 formations.
No,
Tell me more.
What are the 10 formations between?
He created between the suns. I don't know whether this could be the wandering stars, possibly. The planets, even though they're not planets.
Are there 10 of them that are named like
There's
after the
only
gods?
9.
Oh. Would Earth
So,
make 10?
Could.
Including Earth?
Could, I guess. Well, no, they don't call Earth as the floor of heaven.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So read that verse again.
He had wrought the 10 formations which he had created between the suns. The suns, plural.
Yeah.
What in the world? Maybe between the days. But why wouldn't it say the days? Between the suns, he had wrought 10 formations he created. Maybe he created them.
Well, in verse 16 of chapter 1, he talks about making 2 great lights. So maybe it's between, maybe suns is maybe talking about the sun and the moon as 2 lights, but like 2 suns.
Possibly.
So maybe between the 2, I don't know.
There's a possibility of there being more suns. I don't know.
Okay.
There's
Keep
a ton
reading.
of possibilities. And he rested the 7th day from all his works which he had performed. There you go, the 7th, the Sabbath. And Yahuwah blessed the 7th day more than all the days of the week and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his works which Yahuwah had created and had willed to make. These are the genesis of the heavens and earth, when they were created in the day that Yahuwah Elohim made the earth and heaven.
I just love that this says, I love your word is sanctified and mine is set apart. And I think that's something that we just continually see and hear from other brothers and sisters that talk about the Sabbath, how it is a sign. I mean, it's scriptural, like it is a sign between us. We've read, that's in Ezekiel, right? Jeremiah. Doesn't it say that the Sabbath is a sign, right, between us and Yahuwah, that he knows us? And it's what sets us apart. And so if we aren't taking part and we aren't resting on that day, how does he know us? How does it no longer sets us apart as believers, right? I just love that. I think it's not just the fact that he blessed it. Oh, it's a blessed day. No, he sanctified it. He made it so special and so, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Yah is, I don't know, just as there's levels in heaven, the 7 firmaments of heaven, there are levels of understanding. I mean, we started out keeping Sunday as our Sabbath, not really resting, but kind of recognizing it as a day of rest, even though we didn't really rest or keep it as a Sabbath. But we were pursuing him.
Right.
We were trying to do what we thought we were supposed to do. And I think and that's where a lot of people are at. And, then we kind of question, okay, well, wait a second, it's the 7th day, and we kind of went back. But, as you grow and as you learn, there's, many people switch to lunar Sabbaths just because they want to be on the Father's calendar. They want to be pursuing that calendar,
Right.
which we're still in pursuit of.
Yeah, I think, there's so many discussions about what is the correct Sabbath, but I think the most important thing is that we are trying to keep it,
Yeah.
and we're trying to keep it as holy and as set apart as we can, and we aren't profaning it.
In spirit and in truth, right?
In spirit and in truth,
so
that's
in
right.
truth, like according to the word of Yah.
Yeah, and as we learn and as we believe, as He hopefully reveals, His word to us even more and even deeper, and we've come to a greater, like you said, a greater understanding and knowledge of His word, then who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows if Saturday is going to be our Sabbath in the future?
Yeah, and I'm willing to change. If we find that.
Yeah,
You know,
I am too.
because we're willing to
I
be
am.
wrong now because we've been wrong about everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, all right.
What verse are you on? I think you're on verse
So
5.
these are the genesis of the heavens and the earth when they were created in the day.
The
that-
Genesis?
Yes.
That's so funny. This is the births. So does
Births,
Genesis mean
the
birth?
beginning. I think Genesis means beginnings.
Yeah, but births
Means
is interesting.
Yeah.
Like
The
the birth of
day.
the earth, the birth of creation. I don't know. Birth is just an interesting way. Okay.
And all the trees of the field were not as yet in the earth, and all the herbs of the field had not yet germinated, because Yahuwah Elohim had not made it to rain upon the earth, and man was not to cultivate the ground. But a cloud of glory descended from the throne of glory, and was filled with waters from the ocean. Afterward went up from the earth, and gave rain to come down and water all the face of the ground. Very interesting. So nothing had germinated yet, and it did not rain. So the water from the oceans came up. Whether or not that was salt or fresh water, that's interesting. And Yahuwah Elohim created man in 2 formations, and took dust from the place of the house of the sanctuary, and from the 4 winds of the world, and mixed from all the waters of the world, and created him red, black, and white.
Well, we must stop there. So let me
Very
read.
interesting.
So let me read the scriptures in interpretation of verse 7.
That's verse 7.
Yes. And Yahuwah Elohim formed the man out of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils breath of lives, and the man became
Lives.
a living being. So you're going to have to reread that, and we're going to have to break that down a little bit, talk about it.
I mean, that's just crazy. I don't know.
I just want you to read it slowly.
I'm going to constantly be saying, I don't know, because this is crazy. And Yahuwah,
Sorry.
and we've read this before. This is our 3rd time reading through the Targum,
Yeah. Yours, yeah.
but we've read it before.
Yeah.
But I'm still blown away by these things. I have this verse highlighted, but I just didn't. Nope. See, and took dust from the place of the house of the sanctuary.
So stop there, because it says he formed men out of dust from the ground.
So the ground in the sanctuary.
So is that synonymous? The house of the sanctuary is ground?
Well, no, I would say the ground from the house of the sanctuary, possibly. So it's still from the ground, but from the ground at the house of the sanctuary.
Well, you think about those songs. I was just thinking about that worship song that we used to love called Holy Ground.
Which one is that?
I'm not going to sing it. But I'll play it for you, but it's the second time in the last couple of weeks that I've heard the term holy ground.
Holy ground.
And where does that come from scripturally? I don't know. That's a question mark. We can put a pin in it.
Well, I think there's numerous places. So I'm looking at.
Well, I'm just saying ground, and then I take house of sanctuary. Sanctuary would imply holy, right? Wouldn't sanctuary? I don't know what sanctuary means. I'd have to look it up.
Well, let's look it up. Just a second. I'm trying to find something that was interesting.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's not that important. You might not find it interesting.
Well, that's cool. You were in Jubilees, and you just passed a verse that talked about, I think we might have already read this, but that he gave.
Okay, so this is Jubilees 2:18, and he gave us a great sign, the Sabbath, that we should work 6 days, but guard the Sabbath on the 7th day from all work, and all the angels of the presence, and all the angels of the sanctification. These 2 great classes he has bidden us to guard the Sabbath with him in heaven, on earth, And he said unto us, Behold, I will separate unto myself a people from among all the peoples, and these shall guard the Sabbath.
So go back
It's
to
amazing.
okay.
The
So
angels are doing it just as Isaiah says.
we're bouncing around. You're talking about the two sons. Well, he just talked about two classes.
The
Is there
two
any
classes of
relation?
angels.
Yeah, no. But we talk
I don't
about
know.
the angels being being potentially being stars.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
This
know.
is interesting. But the angels kept and are keeping
Yeah, that's according to Isaiah
Sabbath.
as well.
Yeah,
The
yeah. It
angels-
just Jubilees.
So I mean,
aligns.
if we think that we're not supposed to be keeping Sabbath, the angels are doing it up in heaven,
Yeah,
and Yah is still keeping it. I mean, everyone. It's just sad. It hurts. It breaks my heart when we try to tell people about this amazing instructions of Yah,
yeah.
and they disregard it. They think we're crazy or deceived, and it's so sad.
They didn't come
It's
out of
just so
some
sad.
random book.
Yeah, it's so sad because
Came out of
it's
the
written
book.
here. Yeah, it's Yah literally gives us an instruction manual for life, and we just keep it on our nightstands and only read the last part of it.
Yeah, we just disregard and we basically put it to rest.
Yeah.
We've put it to rest.
Okay, so what I was looking
Sorry.
for was you're fine. Jubilees 4:26, and it says, "For Yahweh has 4 places on the earth: the Garden of Eden, and the Mount of the East, and this mountain on which you are this day, Mount Sinai, and Mount Zion, which will be sanctified in the new creation for a sanctification of the earth through all the earth." So it's just that you said the place of place of the house of the sanctuary. So I think sanctuary is temple.
And that's where he took the dust from, though, to form.
Yeah, the place
Man.
of the house of the sanctuary. So it could be whether or not Mount Zion is the Jerusalem that we know today.
But
and it could be the Mount of the East.
But the next part correlates with this, so read that.
So the next part is...
And from the 4 winds of the world.
Yeah, from the 4 winds of the world. So Revelation talks about the 4 angels that control the winds on the 4 corners of the earth. That they were told not to blow winds on the earth, or they were holding back the winds. So that could be the 4 corners of the earth. By the way, there are not 4 corners on the globe, just so you know. And if we want to say it's east and south and west, that it doesn't say that. So I'm not arguing with you. I'm just arguing with, my mind, my own self.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
From the 4 winds of the world and mixed from all the waters of the world.
Wow. None of that. You don't get, and all we know when we read this verse is that man was formed from the dust from the ground.
Yeah.
That's it. But he
dust
created,
in
it
the
says,
sanctuary.
Yahuwah Elohim created man in 2 formations. So I assume that's man and woman.
I
2
would
formations.
assume so, just because it says he created them male and female. But there's a possibility of 2 creations.
But it's almost like you
So-
see this. I have this image of he took dust from the place of the house of sanctuary. So he went over here and took dust from the house of the temple. He took from the 4 winds of the world over here, and then he mixed from all the waters of the world. So he took
There's great-
dust, wind, and water and made man.
Yeah.
Right?
There's great care in what he did creating man, because with the animals, just boom, create it.
Yeah.
And even with the firmament, I think he took 1 day to create the whole firmament, which is great, but it's just so much care in creating someone in his own image.
Yeah.
So the last part, and created him red, black, and white.
That is fascinating.
Which is interesting, I guess. So, there's a belief of 2 creations, because there is a different account of, and we'll read later on, because after this, he creates man and puts him in Eden, creates Adam. So did he create male and female right here, put them on the earth, created different races, red, black, and white,
Yeah.
which also, anyway, sorry.
No, go ahead, say it.
No, this is rabbit trail. So we're only on like the 4th verse.
We're actually doing good, and there's only 25 verses, so
Okay.
it's a short chapter.
Okay, so I'll just keep reading. And breathed into his nostrils the inspiration of life. And there was in the body of Adam the inspiration of a speaking spirit, unto the illumination of the eyes and hearing of the ears.
Okay.
What? Breathed into his nostrils the inspiration of life. There was in the body. It's just amazing. Because I know yours doesn't say that.
No.
Okay.
Mine just says he became a living being.
Yeah. So that's the Jerusalem, and Adam became the soul of life.
A soul of life. Mm-hmm. I love that even more so than living being.
Yeah. Okay, so the next verse. And a garden from the Eden of the just was planted by the word of Elohim. That's amazing. The Eden of the just. And we know that the Garden of Eden is paradise.
Yeah.
It's also the city of Elohim, city of Enoch. It's called many different things. New Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And I do believe New Jerusalem, from many verses, New Jerusalem is the garden that we'll be able to get to go back into, the paradise. And it is for the just.
Mm-hmm.
For the...
Yeah.
Another rabbit trail, but for the Melchizedek priests.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. And there's many people that are already there. Okay. And a garden from the Eden of the just was planted by... Oh, this is what... We totally missed this. But this is what's amazing about the Targum. So there's over 200 times that the word of Elohim, the phrase, the word of Elohim, or the word of Yahuwah, is taken out of our scriptures.
Why would they do that? I'm asking a genuine question. Why would someone think it's okay to remove anything?
It's the same
to
reason
redact.
for changing his name. Over 7,000 times they changed the name of Yahuwah, the Tetragrammaton, the YHWH.
Yeah.
Change it to Lord. Change it to God. Change it to, something besides his name. And there's nothing wrong. You can call upon him saying Lord. I mean, I have for years, but man, they try to hide his name because they don't want you to know him.
Yeah. So speaking of that.
So this verse, and a garden from the Eden of the just was planted by the word of Yahuwah. And we know the word became flesh and dwelt among us. He was created before the foundations of the earth. This is Yahusha.
Yeah.
The Messiah.
Ooh, I got chills.
This is the son of Yahuwah. Planted, the Garden of Eden was planted
by Yahusha.
By Yahusha. Elohim, by the Lord, Yahuwah Elohim, before the creation of the world. And he made there to dwell the man when he had created him. So Eden was planted before the creation of the world. Did you catch that? That's amazing.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Eden of the just was planted. A garden from the Eden of the just was planted by the word of Yahuwah Elohim before the creation of the world. And he made there to dwell the man when he had created him.
Wow.
And Yahuwah Elohim made to grow from the ground every tree that was desirable to behold and good to eat, and the tree of life in the midst of the garden, whose height was a journey of 500 years, and the tree of whose fruit they who ate would distinguish between good and evil.
Okay, so let's just break that down for a second, because obviously, just to have a visual. I think so much of this becomes visual. You have these details and descriptive words in the Targum that give you a vision, like a visual of what things are and look like and could be. So mine says, and out of the ground Yahuwah Elohim made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Period.
Yeah.
So yours actually gives some descriptions around, the tree of life.
Yeah, and to many people this would be like a red flag.
Why?
Well, I mean, if you're reading this and you're like, oh, this is great, and the tree of life in the midst of the garden, whose height was a journey of 500 years, you're like, okay, this is just stupid. There's no way it could be 500 years journey to get to the top of the tree of life. right?
Yeah.
So, but with, as we've figured out and as we've seen, the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yep.
So the truth that we've been shown, my goodness, we just realize that we don't know anything.
No.
So, I don't know. Is the tree of life taller than a journey of 500 years? Sure. Does this mean it takes 500 years to get... I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Because we don't really know. I think our interpretation of what a year is also kind of maybe different than Scripture too, right?
Sure, yeah. But anyways,
yeah,
that's amazing. And a river went forth from Eden to water the garden, and from thence was separated and became 4 heads of rivers, or 4 chief rivers. The name of the first was Pison. What did you say?
Pishon.
Pishon, okay. That is it which compasses all the land of Hittikiah, or Hittikai, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is choice. There is the Beldekah, and the precious stones of Berils, and the name of the second river is Gishon. That is it which encompasseth all the land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Diglath. That is it which goeth to the east of Athor, and the fourth river is Perath. Hmm. So these names are different here than I know that I've read before.
Yeah.
In like KJV or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So something interesting too, another rabbit trail, but there are 4 rivers in old maps from the North Pole.
Right.
Being maybe the amount of the congregation the size of the North. So here you have 4 rivers coming out of Eden.
Yeah, and it's interesting. What's the point of really telling us about these 4 rivers here? Because you think about growing up and hearing the stories of Yah's creation in this 7 days, and then he created man and woman, and then, Adam and Eve, and what about these rivers? Like, what is it? Well, we're never really taught. I mean, it's kind of such an overlooked part of the story of creation. So there has to be something. There has to be more meaning, right, behind them. So maybe you're right.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe to be able to find it again. I know we're not allowed to go back, right now.
Yeah.
But we will be able to one day.
Yeah.
So who knows? It's very interesting. And what a description. I mean, if this is all fake, why describe it in such detail?
Exactly.
Why give some random, detail about these rivers?
Well, that's in here too, though. That's what I find so fascinating is that they didn't remove this, but it's almost kind of like I don't know, something that they knew people would just overlook and not really pay much attention to, and nobody would dig into.
Yeah.
But
we would never overlook something in the Bible. We have for our whole life. All right, next verse. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man from the mountain of worship, where he had been created, and made him dwell in the Garden of Eden to do service in the Torah and to keep its commandments.
What?
What? The Torah before
that is
Moses?
Not in here. So this is verse 15 of chapter 2, and I'll read my version. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to guard it. Now, can you please reread your version?
And Yahuwah Elohim took the man from the mountain of worship, where he had been created, and made him dwell in the Garden of Eden, which is the east, to do service in the Torah and to keep its commandments. Which is beautiful. I mean, and the more you learn, the more you look into texts that are taken out, extra biblical texts that have been taken out of the canon, or that never made it in the canon to begin with, like Jubilees, Enoch, so many others. But they all talk about the eternal Torah. I mean, David talks about the eternal Torah nonstop in Psalms, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, this Torah, it never did not exist.
Or it didn't just start at Mount Sinai either.
Yeah,
right?
I guess that's better, because I don't know when it started, but
Well,
yeah, but it didn't start at Mount Sinai. It was re-given as Yah chose a people for himself.
Yeah, but I mean, he was given the Torah. I mean, Adam was given the Torah.
Yeah,
he was
Adam-
given commands and laws.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, when he was, even before he sinned, he was giving,
Yeah.
how to keep the garden,
And, even
how to guard it.
Even in Canaan, Abraham, it says that Abraham kept the commandments.
Yeah,
Well, which commandments? Moses was the first to receive them.
right.
So Abraham kept the commandments. We know
Right.
Noah was given commandments.
Yep.
Of course, Adam was given one that we know of, not to eat of the tree of knowledge
Yeah.
of good and evil.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most Christians today that believe that there is no more law, and it's done away with, would be in the garden right now eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil
Yeah.
because they believe there is no law.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
There's always been a law. And for
Yeah.
us to do the exact same thing Israel has been doing for thousands of years, to negate the commands and Torah of Elohim,
Yeah.
is so wicked
Right.
and so evil.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Yeah. It is. I think that's beautiful, though, that he put him in the garden. I love that it says he took the man from the mountain of worship. I guess this is saying man, right? So he's not given
Adam. Well,
Does
Adam
it give
means
him his?
man, right?
Yeah. You're right. But that he was created on the mountain of worship. You certainly don't get that
beautiful.
from here. You believe that he's formed out of the dust from the ground, but it makes sense too to read that and to know that there was dust taken from the house of sanctuary, and so the mountain of worship, the house of sanctuary,
having a temple there.
yeah.
And wherever this is, on earth as in heaven, right?
Maybe the garden is there too. I mean,
Well, the garden's to the east.
to the east,
So, yeah, I would say that. I don't know, but it's amazing.
yeah.
And I love it, to do service in the Torah. Now, what does that mean? Like, what is he doing? Service. He's making offerings, right? Because
Right.
somehow Abel and Cain knew how to make offerings because
Yeah.
they were Cain's sacrifices and offerings were not worthy. And he was jealous of Abel.
Mm-hmm.
And his sister. He wanted his sister, but a lot of things. But how did they know that? Because Adam was doing offerings and service to the Torah. And what is that? Also, like the Torah with gardening. And
Yeah.
you're finding a lot about that now with doing our own garden and having to let it rest on the seventh day, and
Right.
other things too about planting
Not planting mixed
seeds,
seeds and things like that. I think it's interesting that this verse, the way your version describes it, about I'm sorry, he made him dwell in the garden of Eden to do service in the law and to keep its commandments. And then the very next verse, in verse 16, and Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, "Eat of every tree of the garden." So it makes sense, right? That there would be, this is the first time I think we even see the word commanded, where Yahuwah commanded man to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knew what that meant, right? If Yahuwah is commanding him, he's giving him an order, a command to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably within, it flows so much more naturally when you know that Yahuwah gave him the law and to keep the commandments within that law.
Yeah.
The very verse before that in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like there came with a set of instructions within the garden, and then right after that, he's commanded to do something.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it fills in holes that you didn't even know were there.
Sure. It's amazing.
Okay, go ahead and read that.
Oh, I'm listening. I think that's awesome.
No, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. He was given instructions, and then the very next verse, he was commanded to eat of every tree of the garden.
Yeah.
But also another command, do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in that day that you eat of it, you shall certainly die.
Mm-hmm. If
So,
God gives instruction, we should do it.
yep,
Who cares what any man says or pastor says, or even, unfortunately, even if we think Paul says it? Who cares?
yeah,
Yah says it, do it.
yeah. Let Yah be true and every man a liar.
Romans 3. 4?
as Paul says.
Yes, as Paul says, yeah. Good job, Paul. You got it right.
I have no idea where that comes from.
I think it's Romans 3:4.
Unfortunately.
Well, let's just look it up. I got the KJV right now.
I think we keep coming back to this point around.
Romans 3:4. Okay.
Go ahead, read it
real quick. God forbid, yea, let God be true, but every man a liar. As it is written, it's been written before, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings and mightest overcome when thou art judged.
Oh, and that takes you where? To
Psalms
51:4.
Psalms 118:8.
So Paul must have been reading something.
Paul, all he does is quote Psalms or the Torah or the prophets.
Which is funny because we love to quote Paul.
Yeah,
but
should
really,
be going back to
we
the
are
source.
quoting.
Yeah.
We are quoting the Torah, the prophets,
Mm-hmm.
which David was a prophet technically. Yeah. But
we should go to the source. The
Yeah.
closer to the source. That's the thing. So, Rob Skiba used to say this, and he used to say, you know that game you play where you tell a secret and you go down the line and then...
The telephone game, or...
Is that what it is?
Well, yeah,
you tell
kind
a
of,
secret
yeah.
to the first person, you go down the line, and then by the time you get to the last person, the secret's totally changed.
Yeah.
The meaning's totally gone.
Yeah.
So why would we start with that last person being Paul?
Yeah.
Why would we start with him to figure out everything?
Yeah.
We really need to go back to the beginning. And that's one reason we're reading Targum, because Targum is believed to predate the Septuagint by like 300 years.
Yeah.
So if it predates the Septuagint, man, let's read the Targum. Let's see what they were thinking during that time.
Right.
When Esdras was writing this.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right?
And I don't think we're trying to hate on Paul at all.
A little bit.
But I think it's... I think what we have come to realize over just the few 5 or 6 years that since we've been given the whole word to believe in the whole word, we become whole scripture believers, if you will. Is that Paul is misunderstood in a lot of ways, and
messed with.
And probably there's been things redacted from his writings and things added to his writings.
Yeah,
there's been things taken away and added to, so to speak. But at the end of the day, like you just said, he is just rephrasing, paraphrasing, or even quoting in most cases the Torah and the prophets.
Yeah.
And even outside of that, I mean, we found him quoting, the extra biblical, texts or the missing texts or the removed texts. So I think what it comes down to is we are commanded to follow Yahuwah's ways and to celebrate his set apart days. And if anything, the whole duty of man is to fear him. The wisest
person who ever lived.
Yeah, to fear him and keep his commands. And if anybody says anything to contradict that or to make us believe otherwise, then there is either something wrong with that writing or there's something being misinterpreted with that writing. In any case, not just Paul, Peter, John, Luke, Matthew, Mark, whoever it is. Your pastor.
If he doesn't pass the Deuteronomy 13 test of being a false prophet, he's a false prophet.
Right.
If he teaches you to follow any other law, commandment by any other Elohim.
Or tells you to do away with the law or that the law is no longer needed. Mm-hmm. Not the law of sin and death. Right? Not the curse, so to speak, but the Torah, the instructions of the Father that came to us that we should be following because we have the blood of Yahusha. The blood of Yahusha has paid for our sin, and he has made atonement for those sins, and he's reconciled. We like to throw all these fancy words out there, but it has brought us back to the Father, and if there is no law, then there is no sin. If there is no sin, then there is no need for a Savior.
Yeah.
There's no need for grace.
Yeah.
And it's a full circle, right? And so
sin is transgression of the Torah.
That's right. And that is in,
1 John 5:3.
Yep. Anyways, we're digressing, but I think it's important because we will continually come back to this because it's
It's been life-changing.
It's been life-changing, and our heart breaks when, we've been down this path in conversations with former friendships, honestly, and people that we've talked to about this, and
family, everyone.
Yeah, and it's not. We're not judging them, and we're not criticizing their beliefs, but we are definitely in the hot seat right now with our beliefs, and it's not our beliefs. It's not like some separate belief. We believe in Yahuwah's word. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not some separate book that was, that we're reading. It's just, anyways, let's get back to finishing chapter 2 because we're already about 40 minutes in.
Okay, we're almost done. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded Adam, saying, Of every tree of the garden eating thou mayest eat, but of the tree of whose fruit they who eat become wise to know between good and evil, thou shalt not eat. For in the day that thou eatest, thou wilt be guilty of death. So you'll be guilty of death because a transgression of a command, which is sin.
Yeah.
And that's why we are guilty of death, just what we were talking about.
Absolutely.
We're guilty of death because we have transgressed. We've been given grace and atonement through the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach, brought back to the Father to do what? Ephesians 3:10, to keep the good works before ordained by the Father.
Amen.
To come back to Him.
Amen.
Not to just continue in transgressing. Just quit eating pork. Keep Sabbath. Do the things He told us to do.
Yeah.
All right. See, we're getting back. And Yahuwah Elohim said, It is not right that Adam should be sleeping alone. That's interesting.
Sleeping alone.
Sleeping alone, not just being alone.
Being alone.
It is not right that Adam should be sleeping alone. I will make unto him a wife who may be a helper before him. And Yahuwah Elohim created from the earth every beast of the field and every fowl of the heavens, and brought them to Adam to see by what name he would call it. And whatever Adam called the living animal, that was its name. And Adam called the names of all cattle, and all fowl of the heavens, and all beasts of the field. But for Adam was not found as yet a helper before him. And Yahuwah Elohim threw a deep slumber upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, it was the 13th rib of the right side.
Okay.
That's an interesting number, 13th rib, and it's kind of a New Agey Freemasonry number, so I'm curious why that would be, but unless, take 13, you get 12.
Yeah.
On the right side of the Father, the 12 tribes of Judah and the 12 disciples.
Was it from the right side?
Yeah. So, this is what it says, 13th rib of the right side.
It doesn't say that here, so.
So if he takes the 13th rib, he's left with 12 on the right side.
Interesting.
And I just read somewhere, I can't remember what it was, but on the right side of the Father is Yahusha, right? Messiah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then on the right side of Messiah is his 12 disciples. And where did I read that? I can't remember.
I don't know, but there's a chick that's going nuts.
Well, we're almost done.
Okay.
Probably cool.
Okay.
Or you can't poop. I don't know.
Sidebar, raising chicks. We mentioned this in the last.
Did we? They stink. They're ready to go outside.
Yeah.
And closed it up with, so he took the 13th rib from the right side and closed it up with flesh. And Yahuwah Elohim builded the rib which he had taken from Adam into a woman. And he brought her to Adam. And Adam said, This time and not again is woman created from man. Thus, because she is created from me, she is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Mm-hmm. This it is fit to call woman, because from man she was taken. Therefore a man shall leave and be separate from the house of the bed of his father and of his mother, and shall consociate with his wife, and both of them shall be one flesh. And both of them were wise, Adam and his wife, but they were not faithful or truthful in their glory. My wife is checking the chicks. So it says, Adam and his wife, but they were not faithful or truthful in their glory. So maybe they didn't know their glory, and they didn't stay there. They didn't want to stay in the bodies made of light, and eventually, went to fleshly bodies after they sinned. All right, so that concludes chapter 2. All right, we're done. Chapter 2. Is everything okay?
Yes. I don't know what she's chirping at.
All right, so that concludes
Okay.
chapter 2.
All right.
So
more interesting revelations.
yeah,
We're only
crazy.
in chapter 2 of Genesis. So this is fascinating to us, hopefully fascinating to anybody that's actually going to listen
all
to
three
this.
of y'all.
That's generous.
Yeah, that is generous.
I bet my mom will listen.
Yes. Thank you,
Mumsy.
Mumsy, for one listener.
Yeah. Hope everyone has a wonderful Shabbat.
Yes, rest, keep it holy, set it apart, blow the shofar.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, just love our Father. It's incredible to set one day aside for Him and just seek Him and desire Him. I mean, we do it every day. Well, we try to do it every day. But, having the Sabbath and setting apart with Him is it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's been life-changing.
Yeah.
It's been life-changing. It was the one thing that woke me up and woke you up as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We started saying, okay, well, at least if we're going to keep the 10 commandments, if we believe we should keep the 10, maybe we should do the one He told us not to forget.
Yeah.
It's the only one He told us to remember, the fourth commandment.
And that's continually reinforced throughout Scripture.
Oh, yeah,
all of
so
Scripture.
many passages.
Even in Hebrews, even though Hebrews...
Yeah, and Hebrews changed the
meaning.
wording. And but
But
I mean, Sabbath never changed, by the way. I mean, you can look at the history of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church came out and said, I don't remember the exact date, but it was hundreds of years ago, we changed the Sabbath, and that proves our authority over Elohim, because we changed the Sabbath.
to what day? Sunday.
To Sunday.
Yeah.
So to change it to the first day of the week, they're the ones who did it.
Yeah.
They've been given authority to change times, seasons.
Well, they
Just as
think they've been
Daniel
given
9
authority.
Yeah,
they've
Daniel
given themselves the
7:25.
authority.
Yeah, they've given their authority.
And
it's
that's
just
basically what have they done? If you're changing anything of the Father, then you're creating your own ways. You're creating your own religion.
yeah,
that's
and
what
following
they've
your
done.
own God.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're creating idolatry.
Yes.
It's crazy. It's the golden calf. Just
A little history lesson.
it's not history. I don't know.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Wonderful day.
We'll catch you on the next one.